Australians, we make a big deal out of honouring the men and women who serve in our armed forces, and so we should. Anzac Day is dedicated to it. So why are the men of Rifle Company Butterworth still fighting for recognition decades later?
Lock and load, ready to go.
They're a band of brothers.
About time you shout it, Ray.
Bring up, lads.
Right, thanks, mate.
Cheers on me.
Thank you. Cheers.
Bound by courage and determination.
I thought I was born, hey.
That's the place where I nearly got shot. So. And they said there was no live rounds.
Willing to put their lives on the line.
There was an expectation of casualties.
The diggers who weren't.
There is a lot of missing documentation.
They are Rifle Company Butterworth.
We went over there and we were told we were going over there on war service, deemed war service. Right? And that's what they are now refuting.
During the communist insurgency in Malaysia in the 70s, Australia provided troops in what successive governments have claimed and maintained were training exercises. Sit down with these blokes and they tell a very different story.
And that was the briefing we got when we were deployed. It was on war service.
How can they say that things didn't happen, you know, over the period of time, like 71 to 89, 18, 20 years, those people that are denying things now were not there.
Rifle Company Butterworth fought in a war that Australia virtually denied even existed. They protected our troops and our aircraft. Now, 30 years on, they're fighting another battle, this time for simple recognition.
It's not right that the government can send their troops into harm's way and then deny that they did it.
In 1979, Ray Fulcher was a 21-year-old private who'd landed at Butterworth Air Base. He saw it as a war zone.
And we were given a briefing on the enemy, the fact that the enemy now had mortars, which they hadn't had previously, which represented a much more serious threat to the base.
Malaysia was in conflict with the communist insurgents, Australia providing air support. Protecting our aircraft and the RAAF personnel, a priority for Rifle Company Butterworth.
A section of the company was on the Quick Reaction Force, which was a moment's notice, or always fully armed, and at a moment's notice ready to move to counter any penetration or attack on the base or to defend the vital points.
It was dangerous work.
Full load of weapons and ammunition, machine guns, rifles. The idea was the Quick Reaction Force was your immediate response to stop and contain the force, the enemy force, and then to counter-attack it, to drive it off the base, capture them or kill them or do whatever. Communist Party had told their organisation...
The qualified solicitor is now spearheading a campaign to have Rifle Company Butterworth veterans recognised for their war service.
They just ignore it or they deny it. They refuse to talk to us.
I spent probably 47 years of my life in the Army. I think I have a moral obligation to ensure that their service is recognised.
Graham Mickelberg retired from the ADF as a Lieutenant Colonel.
So when we arrived, we received very detailed briefings on the nature of the threat.
In 1975, he was a platoon commander at Butterworth.
So I was commanding 36 men.
What were the rules of engagement?
We had well-defined rules of engagement that said we could use lethal force. We had weapons, we had live ammunition.
Last month, the theatre of war moved to the Defence Honours and Awards Appeals Tribunal, where the diggers are fighting to have their service reclassified. According to the vets, secret documents obtained under freedom of information clearly show they were on a war footing and faced constant threat.
Do you believe the situation you were in at that time was warlike?
Absolutely. And that's what all the evidence shows. To be warlike, what was required was that you face a risk of harm from hostile forces or dissident elements, and that's clear. That's what we faced.
There was always the presence of a threat. I say that because of the nature of the orders that we received from our own chain of command.
This ADF aerial photograph clearly indicates the threat posed, attacks possible day and night. That photo is part of a mountain of submissions now being considered by the tribunal to determine if their service should be reclassified from peacetime to warlike. Ray Fulcher and Graham Mickelberg believe the refusal to appropriately recognise their service goes to the political climate at the time.
So, in my view, it was politically expedient.
Men and women.
Gough Whitlam had just been elected Prime Minister on a promise to withdraw all troops from Southeast Asia.
So the Defence Committee came up with the idea that we could send a company of troops from Australia on rotation, and we could, their words, not mine, put it out publicly as being for training purposes. It's
Absolute rubbish to suggest that. And the people who are suggesting this, particularly the uniformed people within Defence, know that.
The tribunal is expected to hand down its findings in the new year.
It's about recognition that we did a service for our country and we want to be recognised for it.
And they're gone.
For many from Rifle Company Butterworth, the decision will come too late.
It's also important for the widows and the children of those veterans who have passed to know that their father, brother, son's service has been recognised. Well, that's where a lot of the action was occurring.
A military man through and through, retired Lieutenant Colonel Mickelberg is determined to right the wrongs.
It's not good enough for us to stand up on Anzac Day and Remembrance Day and say how important veterans are. We need to walk the talk as well as talk it.
For this band of brothers, getting together for the occasional beer is the chance to share a few memories, often in sombre silence, standing as one.
They try to say that it didn't happen, and bullshit.
And the tribunal looking at these diggers' bid for recognition is due to recommence its inquiry at the end of next month.